Would you rather travel 3,000 years into the future or 3,000 years into the past? And before you answer, I wrote down an answer. Oh, here, this camera is for you, and this camera. I wrote down an answer that I think will be correct. Prepare everything.
You're from Poland.
Yeah, Poland.
If you say mam na imię Alberto, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that's very correct. How did you know that? Do you know Polish people?
Many years ago, I had a relations with a Polish girl.
Oh, okay.
She taught me some words, but I was 18 actually, because I remember mam 18 lat.
that's very good actually. It's perfect, like almost perfect Polish pronunciation, but better than anyone here would say it, because I think our languages are definitely more similar in terms of pronunciation than like English and Italian and Polish, rather than English and Polish, because of different pronunciations. So okay, so today I'm talking to Dr. Alberto Feletti. By the way, Alberto, is that how I say it? We just talked about similarities and differences in our languages. Alberto rather than Alberto, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the pronunciation is correct. Alberto is correct.
Alberto. Okay. Yeah. So Alberto Feletti, who recently, we'll talk about your study, but to introduce the topic, recently with your colleague Franco Vazza. Essentially what you did, you conducted a study where you compared samples of cerebral cortex and cosmic web, and then you found striking similarities, not just in terms of structure but also density. So that's like the gist of it. Of course, I want you to talk a little bit more about it, but first, what I like about this study, just a little insight or reflection, is that I don't think there are many studies where where telescopes and microscopes were used. And this is what happened in your study. Before we start, I want you. It's not just about your study; it's about you as well. This chat. So I want to get to know you a little bit better, and I promise I will not surprise you with any questions, but I lied. I will surprise you. I want to ask you a question. It's a very weird sounding question, but it will give me an insight into who you are. And it's a very hard question too. So prepare. So imagine it's a would you rather question. Would you rather? I love these questions. So imagine you can travel in time. So you can travel in time, and the question is, would you rather, and you have to choose one, and I know it's hard, would you rather travel 3,000 years into the future or 3,000 years into the past? And before you answer, I wrote down an answer. Oh, here, this camera is for you, and this camera. I wrote down an answer that I think will be correct. So let's see. So which one would it be for you? 3 or 2,000, never mind, just way into the past or way into the future, if you really had to choose right now?
Well, first of all, thank you for the interview.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you also for this very intriguing question. I didn't expect, but I think, although I really love history, I think I would travel into the future, because I am very curious to know about unknown things. So, of course, we don't know many things about the past history, but we have some information, right? But about the future, we have only hypotheses and questions. So I probably would choose to travel to the future.
All right, so just to make it right. Oh, so this one is for you, and this one is for the future. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same, to be honest, and I just figured, like you said, it's such a hard question, but I think for a scientist, I kind of figured it's probably gonna be the future because of the curious mind and the unknown, like you said. I think I'd prefer this one as well. Just like you said, I've had this conversation with so many people. They must think I'm crazy, but it just yeah, it's either that or that. I find that more artistic people prefer the past. They say they want to see the pyramids built and things like that. I'd love too, but
So
yeah,
there is an association, you say, between the job
uh,
person does and the choice between past and future.
according to my little theory, yeah,
Would be an
uh,
interesting study to do.
yeah, yeah. But I'm yet to find more a bigger sample, and then I'll compare. But anyway, so yeah, so tell me briefly about generally about your interest and yourself, because of course, also one of the reasons I asked you this question is, it's not every day, it doesn't happen every day that a neurosurgeon is involved in a study of essentially, well, to some extent, a study of space. So, what do you do every day, and apart from that study, and what are your interests, and how did you end up investigating that study that I mentioned?
Yeah. Well, me and my co-author, Franco Vazza, have been classmates since elementary school, middle school, and even high school in a small city, which is called Vittorio Veneto. It's a city close to Venice in Italy. And then after high school, our paths diverged completely, as you can imagine. Franco became an astrophysicist. He went abroad to study, and then he came back to Italy. Now he's professor at the University of Bologna. I entered medical school. I really wanted to become a doctor, and I did. And after that, I entered the residency program in neurosurgery at the University of Padova in Italy. Then I also traveled abroad to the United States, and some places in Europe, even in Japan. And now I am associate professor of neurosurgery at the University of Verona in Italy. Back to the second question, so how did we end up to start this collaboration? Being close friends, as we were classmates, we kept keeping in touch over the years. So sometimes we ended up in our hometown at the same time of the year, so we took the chance to meet again and chat about, of course, many things. And, we also chat about our works. We are dealing with, I think, two very intriguing and complex systems in nature. Franco is studying cosmology, so he studies galaxies and universe, and I am more involved in neurological stuff. So of course I'm a surgeon, but I have always had interest in research about neural networks and neurology and neuroscience. I also got a PhD in neuroscience. So talking about these complex systems, we were thinking, well, actually, in some way, they look similar, because he showed me once a simulation of the universe. And looking at this simulation, it turned out that the structure looked very similar to the network of neurons in the cortex. So this study started first because of curiosity, I would say, and secondly, maybe like a joke. So we said, okay, let's try to find a way to compare these two very different systems, but as they look similar, we want to know if there is something scientific that can, compare these two systems, and not just our eye, because that can be, something random. So we start like this, yes. And then we thought about how to find the correct ways, scientifically correct ways to compare these two systems.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting how it started, because I was very curious. So thank you for telling me this, and I like what you said about the fact that you wanted find a scientific way of confirming something that you may have otherwise suspected. Because when I first read about this, I thought, wow, this is something I've thought about. So before, of course, I didn't have the skills or tools to conduct a study into this, but. And I don't think I'm the only person, that's ever thought this, because I've often reflected. I love the topic of cosmos and universe and everything related, and to the extent that I literally before I go to bed, and if I can't sleep, I usually imagine the universe. So I like thinking about it, and these reflections I have before reflected on similarities just with the naked eye, of course, and I thought whether there is something similar in the way, for example, of course, like the most obvious things would be the planets and their moons, and or their moons orbiting their planets, or then the planets revolving around the sun, and then on a larger and larger scale our whole galaxy moving as well. And then of course you think about I guess neurons and cells and these microscopic things and how they are related, and the constant movement. So this is why I loved the idea the moment I read about it. So, and most importantly, you did find so that's mind blowing as well. You did find lots of similarities. So, if you were to tell me briefly what these were, so the most striking similarities between these two systems.
Sure, sure. Well, yes, you are correct. As you said, many people already thought about the similarities between the neuronal network and the cosmic network, but always from a, I would say, a qualitative, from a qualitative point of view, not from a quantitative point of view. So our first aim, as I said, was to find a way to compare in a quantitative, scientific way these two systems. So the first step we made was to apply a system which is commonly used in astrophysics, which is power spectrum. So basically this system gives us information about how energy or matter distribute on different scales. Okay. This method could be applied to both systems, actually. Of course, there are limitations, and we know, and we wrote these limitations in our paper. But what this system, with this technology, told us is that, interestingly, the distribution of matter of the cosmic web and that of a neuronal network plot in a very, very similar way. So it means like the architecture of both systems follows similar logics, I would say. Of course, they are based on very different physics and very different physical laws. And we know these laws. These are not, not something new. But for some reason, the logics at the base of the development of these two very different systems are similar. The hypothesis is that probably nature, at least for these very complex networks, tries to maximize, the efficiency of the network, minimizing the energy which is spent to organize this system. As a control, we did the same analysis using other networks which are commonly found in nature. For example, the branches of the tree, or clouds in the sky, so that these clouds can make some turbulent configurations. And we were not able to find any similarities between these systems and the cosmic network and the neuronal network. So This means that these two networks are very unique from one point of view, and from the other point of view, we also show that they are not organized in a fractal way. So, fractality is something that you can find in nature. It means that the organization of a system, if you look at the system in a very small scale, is the same you find in the same system at a larger scale or even a larger scale. So it's like a replication of the architecture on different scales. This is not the case for the cosmic web and the neuronal network. I would like to point out this regard that we are talking about cortex of the brain or of the cerebellum. I'm saying that, nice dog.
Yeah, Daisy, yeah. Everyone.
Maybe also your dog is interested about.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it. Yeah, she came here.
It's actually very intriguing. Yeah. Anyway, I want to point out this because, after we published this paper, many news came out saying the cosmic web, the universe and the brain are similar or are the same. It's not like this.
Yeah.
The brain is something much, much more complex than a single part of the brain, which is the cortex. So now we are talking about the comparison between the neuronal network in the cortex of the cerebral or the cerebrum or the cerebellum, not about the brain,
not the whole brain. Yeah,
the whole brain, which is something different. Okay, because there are also long-range connections in the brain, which we didn't consider.
So what about one thing I remember reading, and I'll make sure to link to your article. It's free access, I think, right? What I remember is that one of the findings, I'm not sure if these were exactly the same or similar, but essentially about 70% of the universe is made of dark energy, and about, I suppose, or is it exactly the same, 70% of brain is made of water. Is that correct? So when I thought about, when reading this, and you said it's about cortex, about one part of the brain, but so what about how does this relate? So is there what about these 70%? Are we talking about also this one part of the brain, or is 70% of the whole brain made of water?
Okay, so yes, you are right. Actually, we also mentioned about the composition of the two networks. So from one side, there are galaxies and filaments between galaxies, which are made by the matter we know, okay, and which are, floating in something we don't know so well, which is the dark energy. And this dark energy composes about 70% of the density of the system. On the other side, talking about the cortex, okay, cerebral cortex, we know that neurons, which we compared to galaxies and filaments, are made by proteins, about 8%, lipids or carbohydrates, salt. So as we compare the neurons from one side and galaxies from the other side, we try to balance the density of the matter which constitutes these two components. On the other side, the neuronal network is like floating in something more, I would say, passive. Let me use this word, although it's a simplistic way to express the concept, which is water. Of course, our comparison in our study compared the network of neurons from one side, which are composed by proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and galaxies and filaments. We didn't compare dark energy from one side and water from the other side. But I think it's very interesting to say that both systems have about 70%, 75% of density, which looks like passive. This is another interesting similarity between these two systems. Then, of course, we cannot say water is not useful for our brain, our cortex, because water for sure plays a key role in our network, but probably also dark energy does in the cosmic network. Just we don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the difference. I was gonna say that I think we probably know more about the function of the usefulness of water in your brain than the other. Just a quick note, because I know that you're on emergency call. So if I just yeah, wanted to. I don't want this to be too long. Just so everybody knows, again, Alberto is on emergency call and also after night shift. So,
But I still have time, no problem, don't worry.
all right, yeah, because I was thinking, and again, I'm sure you've been asked this, and I'm sure you had to think about it, especially if you when you publish in peer-reviewed journals. That's one of the things you absolutely have to have an answer to. What are the implications of the, apart from the fact that it is mind blowing and in its own way. Is there anything that you thought about in terms of implications of these findings, and whether would it possibly help us understand dark energy, or help us understand the way brain works, or maybe help us understand, I don't know, the size of the universe? Is there, or maybe we don't know yet, but it's just something that we need to perhaps explore further. So is there anything in that sense?
Yeah, well, I think this study is just the very beginning of a longer story. Of course, there are limitations in our study in terms of the methods we used, power spectrum, as I said, but also we didn't talk about that, network analysis, which confirmed this similarity between the two systems. I think one of the main goals of this study is the fact that we showed there is actually a quantitative similarity between these two systems in a structural way. So the architectures of these complex networks look very similar. I think the second important fact about our research and our study is that joining the forces between very different fields, in this case neuroscience and astrophysics, can somehow enhance the ability to get more results about your own field, just maybe borrowing from the other field tools or ideas or way to look at the problem too. What this research can imply for the future, it's very difficult to say, but in my mind, the first step would be to confirm these results with more complex analysis. Of course, we just used network analysis and power spectrum, but there are other possibilities to compare these two systems and to eventually confirm these results. More importantly, I think the next aim would be to compare not only the structures as we did, so the architecture, but also get to a higher level of complexity, talking about function. It's very difficult, of course, to compare this among these two systems, but I think this is the most intriguing and fascinating step. So, are there similarities between the memory power? We kind of mentioned this in our paper, but further analysis must be done to confirm if there is it is possible to compare the functions. Of course, the functions are very different, but I mean the way the functions are arranged, in these two systems. I think this would be very, very interesting to do.
Yeah, my first thought was about the potential of this to, as I said, I'm sure in the future it could have, it may benefit both fields. But my first thought, and perhaps again because I'm so obsessed with with the space, was about the potential of exploring space and understanding it, specifically because we don't know that much about dark energy. And just like you said, the next steps will involve focusing on the function of these, components as well. And I can imagine there, by drawing uh, some kind of similarities and comparisons between using our knowledge that, as you said yourself, is more extensive in terms of our brain than the space. We could perhaps, guess or suggest something about either the like I said, the function or how it works, the dark energy, or perhaps even the size or the universe, or trace the somehow back to the development of the universe. So of course with the universe there are just so many things we don't know. So
Right,
yeah.
right. And sorry if I interrupt,
No,
but
no,
this
that's
is a
fine.
very interesting point, because if you think that for universe we have simulations of the network, right? Of course, we know only a very, very, very tiny part of the universe, but if we can demonstrate a similarity between a network which is maybe more known, not completely, of course, like the neuronal network and the universe structure, maybe we can get some more implications, some more, details about the universe and the galaxies. And from the other point of view, in the recent years, the functions of the brain have been studied a lot. And now we are moving to the field of artificial intelligence. There are many attempts to develop artificial neuronal network. I think this kind of, merge between analysis tools, analytic methods of two different disciplines, two different fields, can maybe help in speeding up this process of finding a way to develop artificial intelligence or artificial neuronal network. This is another, potential implication of the work.
Yeah, definitely. So and the fact, just like you said a couple of times, that this interdisciplinary collaboration is quite fascinating as well. Don't forget that, because let's not forget it, because there is obviously plenty of talk in academia about interdisciplinary. It's such a common term, but not necessarily that much, that interdisciplinary, because let's not forget that these fields are completely different, and I don't think it happens, like you said, very often that people from these fields collaborate. So and what you said about artificial brain and all that, that's fascinating too. I don't even want to to get started on that and on theories about that, because that's another obviously completely different topic. And
well, yeah, about this, let me point out that we got so many feedbacks after we published this paper. Most of them were very, scientific and deep into the matter, but some comments were completely out of topic. So some people took our results to justify, some creationist theories or new age point of view. Well, I want to point out that this has nothing to do with our work. So
Yeah.
these are just interpretations. We didn't mean to justify creational, theories or metaphysic or something. Some people even thanked us to have shown the existence of God.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this is not our aim, of course. We want to keep this topic in a scientific field. So I think this is an important message to deliver.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, that's good. So through this video, at least we'll make sure to to clarify this, because I agree, and I'm not surprised at what you said, because even what you said before about the simplification of some articles saying the brain and the universe are almost the same. And I admit that's obviously that's how it works. Clickbait and all that needs to be catchy. But yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you can everybody can, I guess, find and believe what they want, and they can interpret your findings the way they want, as long as they don't say that you said it. Yeah,
Right,
because that's
right.
that's a different thing.
That's correct.
Okay, so I guess just to wrap it up, so the question about the future, I guess, are you planning to spend some more time? I can imagine it's obviously not the only thing you're doing, and the same applies to Franco. But have there been plans to actually, continue this research, like you said, to focus perhaps on functions? And are you already working on it, or is it
We are
something?
not already working on that, but we are thinking about that actually. We would like first to hear and see the reactions of the academic fields of both our fields after the publication of this scientific paper. We want to get some feedbacks by the scientific community first. And then based on that, we will decide which direction to move. Of course, we have many thoughts in our minds. We would like to keep working on this field for sure, because we believe that these results must be looked deeper, okay, and must be analyzed with more complex tools from one point of view. And from the other point of view, as I said, we would like to move to a higher level of complexity comparison. So the answer is yes, but I cannot tell you the timing for that, because as you said, this is not my first, field, my first topic I'm working about, and same applies to Franco. But for sure, the curiosity and the interest about the comparison of these two complex systems is still there. So probably we will keep working on that.
Yeah, I can imagine this being so groundbreaking, and possibly setting a path for a completely new direction of research. So I hope this is what will happen. I hope that others will start to take this idea into consideration and investigating it, and I hope that you'll also find time to explore it, because it's clear that it developed out of passion, and yeah, and that's important to do something we are passionate about. So yeah, so just thank you again for this chat. It was really great to talk to you.
Thank you for your invitation.